boom, go. And immediately you're out there and these people are trying to knock you down.
Here's what she said that caught my attention. We want to target our marketing to younger people to consume our product.
I think it's criminal.
You know, because oftentimes I think about torture techniques and yeah, the worst. I still feel pretty stupid though.
Like more than usual?
Yeah, more than, yeah. Oh my God. Do you want to be productive or not? Don't lie to me. Thanks for being here. In the new studio, we are in Sedona at Tracy and I's house. We built out this designated studio for the Sober Bros podcast. This is the first recording with it. I barely got it set up before we hit record, and I think it's pretty much good to go. There's a few more things I'd like to do, but I'm feeling good about it. We got a light situation going on in front and back. We're all mic'd up. These chairs,
very cozy.
Very
cozy.
Got the shelf from IKEA. Got the chairs from IKEA. Big fan of IKEA. Fell in love with it.
It's your first time.
Yeah, it was my first time there.
That place is, as much as I like to get away from like consumerism and you're all about essentialism, you know, there's like something, they put something in the air when you walk in there. They put something in the air, I think, because almost everybody gets caught off guard, you know, that's like kind of against those types of places. You walk in there and you're just like, this place is amazing. I just want to sleep on every one of the beds. Like I want to go through all the drawers and the chest of drawers and yeah, check everything out.
The music that they were playing was very good. You know, I'm very critical when I go to places like any restaurant, any store, any business.
Oh yeah, it's one of the first things I notice.
Anyway, that was a fun trip to Phoenix. That was for my birthday back on April 12th. These sound panels got off of Amazon. When we first moved into this room, it was super echoey, but now we got a rug, we got sound panels, and it's good to go. So I'm loving it. I hope you are enjoying it. We got 2 cameras set up for the podcast now, seeing how that goes here instead of just one angle. Always trying to do whatever we can to up the production value and make this a more enjoyable experience for you to be watching or listening. But if you're watching, you can watch it on YouTube or Spotify. It's a video podcast, so it's playing on both those platforms. If you haven't followed on Spotify or subscribed on YouTube, or just check it out on Google Play if you got an Android phone, or Apple Podcasts for the iPhones. All your support really helps if you go ahead and share this with someone, give it a like, comment on whatever platform you're consuming this content on, and keep on sending in the comments and messages. For now, I'm actually kind of curious just what's been going on with you because, you know, despite what some people might think, even though we are brothers, we don't talk every day. Daniel's always doing his thing on the land or working at Chocolate Tree, the restaurant in Sedona, and I'm doing my thing here. So that's one of the things I like about this podcast. It's a good time to catch up with you. So what's been going on this week?
Been really busy.
What are you happy about? What are you sad about? What are you busy about?
I've been really busy just with projects on the land. Just moving a lot of debris that got washed up in the flood.
That's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and I don't go to the gym, which most people think I do.
Right.
So I've been doing a lot of work on the land, like carrying big, like huge. We got these logs, cottonwood logs, and some guys split them up with a chainsaw, and there's huge rounds that are, you know, close to 100 pounds each, and I'm just like picking these things up and moving them and just exhausting myself because it's still kind of hard to go to sleep. So I find that physically exhausting myself has been really good. So yeah, doing a lot of just like land clearing, mending various pieces of soil, planting lots of flowers and getting ready for the spring, and really busy working at the restaurant. And that's been a little bit tricky because if I'm there late at all and I drive home at night, there's that thing. Still, it's like very fucking real.
The temptations.
The temptations, you know, a couple nights ago, like I had to tell Radhika, the owner of the chocolate tree, I don't want to be scheduled to close anymore
Yeah, that's a good idea.
because you lock those doors, you just like let the stress out, it's been busy. And that's typically when I would just, down
That
several beers
that
in just a
habit
few
pattern
minutes.
is like really built into you because that was your MO for kind of like years.
Years.
So, it's why make it harder for yourself to like change that,
Yeah, it's just too hard, and you got things like this, and it does something, it helps
Bubblers.
out. But I felt like this last week, the first, we've been sober. I think today's day 22.
Yeah.
Today's the 22nd,
Today's the 20th,
23rd,
something like that.
something like that. Anywhere like 22, 21, 22 days sober. And the first couple of weeks were I just feeling a lot of levity, elation, as the body is just like not just subdued by alcohol. And I think this last week, I started getting into some of those deeper layers as the emotions start more coming out and things start to go kind of into a balance. And I've experienced this before, so this last week was a lot of reflecting on the patterns and really addressing some of those issues and sitting with them and just letting them naturally come up. And so it's been a little bit more of a heavy week for me, emotionally and psychologically, energetically. And yeah, that gathering at your house the other day, David had a soft opening at the house, just a few friends, no alcohol. But
Yeah, barbecue, the whole
Yeah.
thing, sunset, barefoot on the grass, classic drinking opportunity.
right, grass-fed burger patties, little fire. So there was that social anxiety for me, especially sober. And these are even people that I know that I'm comfortable with, but it was still there. I was gonna go stop by the grocery store on my way home and get a bottle of vodka to make tinctures. But the way I was feeling, Sophie was with me, and I got in the car and was like, "You just got to go home. I don't trust myself driving home with a bottle of vodka at nighttime." So managed to do that. But yeah, managing those temptations has been getting a little bit easier. But some of those like deeper, raw emotions have been coming up, that are humbling. And I love it. I'm not just I don't resist any of these feelings. I welcome them and I'm happy to be with them. But just witnessing that, yeah, this last week was a little bit heavier. Not as ecstatic as the first couple weeks.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. As the body's initially liberated from the burden or whatever, there's a uptick in the euphoria for you. And then maybe settling into some of that deeper stuff, exactly as you say. I get that.
Yeah, and with those kind of heavier feelings comes more of the desire to go back to alcohol.
Yeah, we've certainly done that in the past. Stop for a few days, couple weeks, whatever.
Right.
You're like, man, I feel so good, and for me, it's like, yeah, I did really good for that week or two right there. I was clean, and man, let's just have a drink tonight or tomorrow, and then it turns into another couple of years of a.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and this time it's just different, and I'm not caving into it, and just really putting a lot more effort into just not returning to it. So that's what's been going on for me this last week. What's up with you?
The main thing, the biggest thing for me was one of our kittens died.
Mm-hmm.
Right out on the road. Got hit by a car. I'm finally kind of over it now, but the grief, I suppose it's called, those feelings, that's called grief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird emotions, like
Yeah.
it's like you have gas or something, but it's instead of like here, it's like here.
Yeah, I didn't.
It's the
Yeah,
same feeling.
I didn't feel normal. I guess it's called grief, and it was pretty hard. Like the first day, because what happened was the cat. I was in here working, And then I heard some meowing that was like sort of a cry for help meow. And I went out, and Cedar, the little boy's name, only 7 months old, was in the bedroom kind of flopping around. His whole back half was flattened,
Jesus.
and he was trying to stand up and kept falling over, like, because his pelvis is all diagonal or whatever, you know. And I was a little bit shocked, or just like,
Yeah.
what are my eyes seeing?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like trying to assess the situation really quickly, like, are you okay or not okay?
Yeah.
And so I decided that he was really not okay and should probably be. So I called the vet. They had a spot, put him in a crate. Was driving there, and unfortunately traffic was a little bad, busy season in Sedona. And he was just sort of looking at me and meowing in the crate the whole drive.
Terrified.
Yeah, probably in shock. Couldn't get up. You know, I had a hard time even picking him up to put him in the crate because I didn't want to hurt him, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to the vet. They gave him the x-rays and stuff, came back in and told me what's up, you know, showed me the x-rays, said, yeah, he's in really bad shape, blah, blah, blah. You can spend like many thousands of dollars, take him up to Flagstaff and have the surgery.
Yeah.
It's going to cost you a lot of money over the long run in various ways. And the outcome of his health would be uncertain. He could end up being fine, or he could end up being like really
Fucked up.
fucked up for however long he might live. Or you can put him down. And I was having a hard time with that.
Sure. I mean, yeah, the gravity of that situation, it was like ending this animal's life that you so quickly bonded with.
Yeah, because him and his little sister, who's survived and with us now, she's just outside the door meowing for me, actually. We had him for 4 months. But I am a big cat lover. It's probably true, many people could say that I love animals and cats specifically more than humans.
For sure. I would definitely say that's the case.
And so every day, you know, I would play with them, pet them, feed them tuna, you know, make sure they're okay and all that. And so it was hard. And I was crying. And that was the last time I had cried before the other day that this happened was 2014, some like 9 years ago. Philadelphia, when I had let that other cat go. So I sort of have an aversion to crying.
No way.
Yeah, which is weird because almost every day I might think of something or hear something, whatever, and the feeling is kind of there of like melancholy or...
Sure.
You know, because oftentimes I think about general suffering in the world and also torture techniques and...
You think about torture techniques?
Unfortunately, I do. That's not something
Like which ones?
Oh, man, I can't even get into it. But like
What?
The worst.
Like shoving a knife under fingernails?
Oh, that would be it. I would pray for
I could
that.
handle a lot more. I mean, that right there, I would rather. Anyway.
Yeah, so it's crazy where my mind goes, you know, because I've listened to like Jocko Willink and war
Right.
stories, and there's unspeakable atrocities that have happened and torture. So I've heard those stories, and so for years, and so they're in me a little bit, and so I have an imagination. I can't help but think of them. I wish I didn't, because it's uncomfortable to think about. But I'll think about the suffering and the
Is that
pain.
going to be like in the bonus footage? In the newsletter?
Oh, what?
David describes some
Oh, yeah. Sign up
vicious-
for the newsletter if you want to.
vicious torture techniques,
Uh-huh.
bonus material.
Yeah. If you're interested, sign up for the newsletter. Whew. No. So, anyway,
Right.
I feel the emotions of sadness, but I don't cry. So anyway, losing Cedar was rough. That was really rough for me, and even as the 5 or so days that have gone by, the first day was the worst. I kept having the vision of the whole thing play out over and over, like a loop on repeat in my head, and a hard time going to sleep because it was just so damn sad. And then the next day was a little better. But I felt a little guilty for continuing to hustle on the
Mm-hmm.
podcast. Is that this is pretty much all I do now, um, and so it has to be done to do it well. And I felt guilty about focusing on productivity for the podcast rather than sitting around doing nothing other than thinking of him and grieving.
Right.
So I'm a little conflicted about dying and death and how to honor living beings when
Did
they
you leave the body at the vet?
they gave me the option of, I didn't know these things, but they told me through my tears. They were like, so you can take him home with you and bury him, or we can cremate him and you can take the ashes, or you can put him into what they call general cremation or
Mm-hmm. No, they
something.
just throw in a bunch of cats.
Yeah, they just toss him into a pile of dead cats. And so I I wanted to, how I wanted it to go down. I wanted to be with him by his side when they
Mm-hmm.
injected him, and I wanted to take his body home and bury him. But my state at that time, I couldn't.
Hmm.
It was just too much.
Mm-hmm.
So through my tears, I just said, just make it disappear. I didn't say that, but that's what
Mm-hmm.
I was just
Mm-hmm.
like, this has to go away.
Right.
And so I said, just put him in the general cremation. So that's what they did. And then, like, after he was dead, sometimes I get like a little bit mad at him. I'd be like, you fucking little
I
boy,
know. Fucking running across the road.
what are you doing?
Right.
But they don't have the concept of these interesting moving things can kill me. After his death, it got me thinking again, as I often do, about life and suffering and happiness and tragedy and happiness and dying and death and what happens after death, if anything, the whole spectrum
Mm-hmm.
of the cycle of life and death is so, on one hand, simple as we can see it, as I just described it, but on the other hand, so mysterious because
Yeah.
it is really mysterious. I mean, with the quantum metaverse and the metaphysical background of the universe and all the, if you do psychedelics and get in touch with all the dimensions and all this, like, what is really going on? Okay, and there's psychologists and books written about it. But I have, thinking about these things can have some really valuable takeaways. They do for me anyway. I'm sure they probably do for you. Like, a couple points specifically. A reminder that life can be extinguished in an instant. Like that day, I checked on him at one moment. He was playing in the grass. Everything was fine. I came in back here to work for another 30 minutes. Next thing I know, he's meowing, deformed, dead. Okay? And that can happen with Tracy. You know, if she's driving, head on collision, whatever. Or you, anybody could like die in an instant. And I don't know what to do about that, but just try and appreciate the people while we're alive. But it's so easy to take things for granted.
Right.
And I think we can all be forgiven for that. The other big takeaway for me is so, what about our lives while we're here? And then when we die, however we die, what is the legacy we leave behind? What were we doing with our lives? Like, were we just selfish and doing our own thing and playing video games and not really just have a 9 to 5 job and just getting by in this world? No judgment if you are, but for me, I like to try and live life with more purpose. And so it got me thinking about me and other people peripherally. What are we doing with our lives and the legacy we leave behind? Are we trying to do something good and bring more good into the world? Are we trying to be kinder and more creative and inspirational to the whole life community? Or are we just living for nothing and selfish, indulgent reasons? So for me personally, and with this show, I really want to try and yes, enjoy the process of experiencing life, but also try and turn on light bulbs for other people. So when I do die, people can say, you know, that David, he was okay, but maybe that's selfish. And I'm getting very kind of cerebral, but maybe it's very selfish to try and control what other people think after I'm gone.
Well, there's certainly a psychological component to that. You know, like I want people to remember me a certain way, or I want to be remembered at all. But I think that most people probably want to be remembered in a positive light.
Yeah, I think it's very natural for us to do so. And a book I read a long time ago that I really like is called Die Wise, A Manifesto for Sanity and Soul, written by Stephen Jenkinson.
See, that's a book you can recommend.
Yeah,
Next
so
time. We'll recommend that one next time.
and in it, among many other things, and he was what do you call them?
Death doula,
Yeah, somebody.
grief walker,
Yeah, he meets like people who are dying and like sits with them.
a death doula.
Yeah, I think there's a more official term for that.
He
but
probably does.
yeah. One of the things he said in the book is that people, because he met with thousands of people who were dying and watched them die and their families and all that. And so he knows what he's talking about. He said something like, people, for the most part, want to be carried. They want to know that the others will carry them when they're gone, meaning in memory and artifacts or whatever. I guess it's part of our ego, but we want to be carried in some way. And a fear of dying that most people have is that they won't be carried.
I think that the desire to be remembered is a fear of death.
Yeah.
Because I think most people view, one of the most common perspectives of death is that, well, they don't know what's going to happen afterwards.
Yeah.
And that they're gone and then it's all over. And we're afraid of losing this body. We're so identified with our own personalities and bodies, and which is so fascinating that we're so afraid of death. And Stephen Jenkinson goes into this quite a bit, is that and so does Smell of Rain on Dust. Martin Prechel, whatever his name is, talks about how our culture has no like relationship with death or grief. And it's funny, when babies are born, we're like, oh my God, we like throwing parties. Here's a cigar. It's pink and blue and all these things. And like, this is so amazing. Here's this baby. Everybody's celebrating that there's a baby. But where did that baby just come from? Came from the same place, I think, that people go to die. But wouldn't that be funny if we were like fucking giving birth and people were like terrified?
Some people are.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, oh my God, this baby is coming from the place that people go to die. We're so afraid of that. We don't know what it is. But we just assume that these babies come from, spirits come from some cool place.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that could all be very well a full episode in that subject there. But for Cedar dying, I will say that he lived a good life, let it be known, and I try and carry him in the best way, and there's no doubt about it. He had a good life, short life, but good. He had a very good life. Couldn't ask for more. And that's another thing that Jenkinson said in Die Wise is that, a lot of children die when they're, 2 months old or 2 years old. And
stillborn. Yeah,
and many parents obviously grieve that, the life was cut off too short and all this, but he has a different perspective on that they lived as good of life as somebody who's 90 and lived a good life,
sure,
whatever.
Yeah.
That time frame doesn't matter. What was the quality of it? And so Cedar lived the best possible life, and I have a picture of him on my phone. And yeah, but I don't think
when you die, I'm just gonna have a picture of you on your phone. That's how.
Yeah, I can't control what you do.
Oh God, my brother died. Okay, it's my screensaver.
I would much prefer a print on the wall.
Not gonna do that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, other than Cedar dying, got a new scooter. electric scooter so I can ride around town.
Yeah.
There's a pretty good bike trail around here in the Red Rocks. It's beautiful.
Yep.
So got a scooter. Life is good here in the house. It's Sedona. Staying sober. It's still an everyday thing. Yeah, that's pretty much been the most of my week is overcoming that grief. Still feeling it a little, obviously. Trying to get outside. Otherwise, inside here in the studio/office, hustling the podcast, working on what I love actually. So yeah, I'm really glad we're doing this. Really glad we're so.
Yeah, absolutely. You know,
I still feel pretty stupid though.
Really?
Yeah, just mentally,
like more than usual.
Yeah, more than yeah, yeah,
Huh?
yeah. Transitioning from there's a lot of just the carbohydrates and the alcohol is still working out. I have some little skin issues.
Okay.
So it got deep in there. It's not going to go out overnight.
No, it's been a couple of decades, of saturation. So it doesn't have to take years and years and years like people think. We were definitely privy to a variety of modalities of getting these things out. Spring Dragon tea. I mean, if you can just do that every day, that's gonna.
Every night, yeah, I have tea.
Yeah. Green juice.
Yeah, I got green juice during the day.
Yeah.
Spring Dragon.
So you can
by
expedite
night.
that. You get the membership to the gym. Start sweating in the dry sauna.
Yeah.
Move those things out.
Yeah, definitely gonna do that.
But yeah, I hear what you're saying.
So I've got instead of looking at my phone, I've got a fancy clipboard and some notes here.
Fancy clipboard.
And a hype button. The next thing I want to talk about with you is it's been in the news. I haven't been watching a lot of news recently, but there's a topic that I've seen come up that I want to talk with you about and get some of your thoughts on. It's about Bud Light, the beer company, has been in the news recently because, well, from most of the headlines that I've seen, and I haven't really consumed a lot of the content, but I've watched a few videos and read a few articles. There's some controversy over, yes, transgender promotion thing they're doing, but what really got my attention, and I want to talk to you about, is I saw a clip of the new vice president of marketing for Bud Light in an interview talking really positively about the new approach she's taking. And she, in passing, here's what she said that caught my attention. We want to target our marketing to younger people to consume our product.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Can you splice a clip of that in?
Yeah, so be sure to check the link in the description. I'm going to be linking to that clip that you can watch for yourself, and an article as well if you just want to read it.
Mm-hmm.
But to me that was shocking, just because I guess in my sober state I'm just more sensitive to I kind of have a protector side in me. I like to protect those around me. If somebody came up and fucked with you, I would go into protector mode.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what I would do because I'm an Aries. I might just explode. If somebody tried to pull some shit on Tracy, it would get really bad. If somebody tries to mess with my cats, or another cat tries to mess with my cats, as much as I love cats, I'll kick that one.
Oh, for sure.
And so when I heard her say that,
we're not condoning
the kicking of
animal abuse,
and of any kind.
Right.
So
I think we might need a lawyer.
Yeah.
For that one.
So with the kid, we got a kid on the way, halfway here now, and so that's a young person, a person of young age.
Yeah.
And so I heard her say that, and I got protective of like any young person because their brains aren't fully developed and all this, and so I got protective about that, and I just think it's disgraceful at best for a company to be
flagrant about it.
Yeah, to do it in the first place, but then to say it in public. Yeah, and she was very proud of what she was saying.
Right, and they're probably talking about young people as in like 21-year-olds, hopefully.
Yeah,
but even so, just to use that like generalized term, young people. That's
yeah, and so from what I've seen, Bud Light's market shares or whatever are all like going down because of this bad
Oh, I've seen,
publicity.
yeah, like some video footage of like trucks filling a parking lot up with cases and cases, like thousands of cases of cans and bottles of Bud Light, and just running them over with trucks.
That's great. That sounds like fun. I'd like to do that.
They look like they were having fun.
Yeah.
I've
Uh,
never liked Bud Light. I don't even think I've had a Bud Light in my life.
yeah, I'm not sure if I have either. It definitely does not taste good. It's a poor product in all kinds of ways. Now, before I let you expound on it more, whatever you think about it, I just want to say that it's no surprise that a company would want to market to young people. Corporations with not the best intentions have been doing that for a long time. It's no surprise with the big brand tobacco companies and pharmaceuticals, they're targeting people and oftentimes young people. So I'm not naive and surprised that they're doing it and saying they're doing it. I just, right now, it's not okay. And I really wish these companies would just kind of go broke and not even exist in the first place.
Yeah, targeting young people, and this isn't the first time they've been targeting people for many, many, many years. But this may be the first time that they're so out in the open. Yeah, I really couldn't care less about the the transsexual thing. That doesn't bother me at all. But like intentionally targeting young people, and since having Sophie, um,
Yeah, so you got a kid, she's 6.
yep, and well, I'll stay on topic with Sophie is that having my daughter, like we don't watch normal television. The videos and stuff that we do watch are highly curated. So I choose them very specifically. I don't watch, and I don't let her when she's with me. I don't let her watch childish movies. Children behave oftentimes like these parroting little kids because they're watching these things that are specifically designed to program them to act this way, right? So they'll just be like repeating the stuff that they heard on really ridiculous, stupid, mind-numbing, consciousness-dulling television programs and stuff. So we don't watch that kind of thing. One of her favorite movies is The Royal Tenenbaums, you know. And some people would say that that's a little bit too mature for a kid like that, but she gets it, and she loves it. I think it's highly intelligent and highly creative, and it can actually be like stimulating to the mind. But I came to the realization very early on with Sophie that there is like I can't even quantify it. I can't even put the number on it, but there's like a multi-trillion-dollar campaign for Sophie's consciousness, for the consciousness of all young people who are exposed to all of these things. I mean, the trillions of dollars that are spent on marketing and media and these television programs and the fucking music, and it's all geared to like enslave us and to make us consumers of whatever it is.
Yeah, I think the Super Bowl would be a great example
Sure.
of this because families are watching it. Old people and young people are watching it, and that's a great opportunity for these big companies to insert some of that mind control or their agenda into the minds and souls of.
Totally, like on cigarettes now, right? Every single package says this is going to kill you, basically. And once they did that, tobacco sales dramatically plummeted. So they had to come up with like different ways of luring people to smoke tobacco. But yeah, and these advertisements, and I haven't seen these commercials for such a fucking long time, all these alcohol commercials, but they're all having such a great time, and they're like meeting girls and they're meeting guys, they're partying.
And nobody's fat. They're all like fit.
Nobody's fat, they're all fit. They don't, it's just, for something that kills so many people, tobacco even, for something like alcohol that kills so many people directly or indirectly, kills people or destroys lives directly or indirectly, to be so heavily promoted in such a variety of ways, I think is insanely irresponsible, and I've got to assume that it's intentional.
Yeah, I agree. On one hand, it keeps people docile and or am I saying that right?
Subservient.
Is that right? I think it does to a large degree. On the other hand, too, it makes people volatile and angry and
Yeah, but it doesn't last all that long. You can't have like a revolution of drunk people because they're going to pass out. They're going to start tripping. They're going to start fighting amongst themselves.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Right.
Like you're going to have domestic abuse, arguments with your spouse.
Right.
You're more likely to get fly off the handle and get
Yeah.
angry at those close to you because you're in a stupid state, and you're also too lethargic to be able to uprise or do anything. So with that double hit there, like that to a conspiracy theory, I mean, yeah, intentional.
Yeah, and then going back to like Bud Light, specifically targeting children, and they have so much fucking money that they can throw at this because you can buy like I don't even know, like a 24 pack or whatever, 18 pack, 12 pack of Bud Light, for extremely inexpensive,
Yeah,
like, for not much money,
yeah,
and it costs pennies, at best to like produce all those things. So they've got so much money to throw at these marketing campaigns, and they're hiring geniuses. They're hiring people who have studied neurolinguistic programming. They're hiring people who actually study psychology, brilliant people, in order to learn the most effective ways of like placing things specifically in the frame and using the word combinations that are going to set in motion processes in the brain that make us want those things, especially like you said, to kids whose brains haven't even fully developed yet, highly impressionable. I think it's criminal.
yeah. That's really what I'm feeling too. Is it's criminal, and I kind of hope maybe it's idealistic or romantic to want to see justice served at some point.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many aspects where that's. I remember when I first started going to community college, first day at community college, PCC, and I walk in. uh, Over here. There's like four different credit card companies set up at these tables, trying to get these people to like sign up to get a fucking credit card. There I was, 18 years old. We come from a family that didn't have a lot of money. And so I signed up for all four, and they're offering like bags of peanut M&Ms. I think I got one of them was like a fucking Slinky. Signed up for all these credit cards, got accepted all of them, canceled all of them besides one. And I had no idea how to like manage money. We didn't really learn that growing up about budgets and stuff. We were on food stamps and different like social services and stuff, but largely we were never really coached, mentored. We were never made aware of the pitfalls and the dangers of like credit abuse.
Yeah, parents didn't teach it. Friends didn't teach it.
No.
School.
No, it's here. So these credit card companies with images, of people like having so much fun and access to all these things with this credit card. So there I go. I've got a credit card. And I remember the first time they gave me a $500 limit. The first time I was ever declined, I was actually at Starbucks buying some stuff for some friends. Declined. Okay, no big deal. Somebody else covered it. I got on the phone. I was like, hey, I just got declined. And they're like, hey, well, how about we just raise your limit? And I was like, all right, sounds great. Immediately gave me like another $500. Within a couple of years, I had a $10,000 limit, and it was completely maxed out, having spent all that money on a couple of plane trips, mostly like pizza, tobacco, and alcohol. And I was $10,000 in debt. And they're like specifically gearing it towards young people, and it's destroying people's lives. I think that that's also criminal because it's making credit card companies and financial institutions billionaires.
I agree. The credit card situation very criminal. It affects a lot of people, you, me, and millions of others, and then colleges too. Speaking of young people and scams to a large degree to prey on impressionable young people is colleges. Oh, it'll do wonders for you and all this. They're marketing to lure young people into their system and put them in debt. Credit cards, Bud Light. Oh man,
It's dangerous out there.
it's a dangerous. It's like I feel like we're fish in a water, and people up here have these like poles that are hooking us and trying to lure us in.
What was that television show back in the 90s? American Gladiator.
That was awesome.
That was awesome.
Oh.
But it's kind of like growing up and just
The
like
video game was good too.
you graduate high school or not, but you still get thrown out there. You leave your parents' house and you're just out there. Now you have a job and we don't have a lot of responsibilities, and we have a shit ton of cultural influences trying to get us to do things that are not good for us, that are terrible for us, and that are actually going to enslave us to the system. Now we're just fucked because we're a part of it. We're in debt. Now I'm an alcoholic and I can't do much better, and it's just like downhill from there. So what made me think of that was like, there were two contestants, whatever, the countdown, boom, go. And immediately you're out there and these people are trying to knock you down. There's like swinging shit and they've got the joust things and they're like trying to like kick your ass and knock you out. And that's kind of like what it is to such a huge degree.
Right. Situational awareness is one of the most important like survival techniques. And so if you want to survive and live a good life, just be aware of your surroundings and what you're seeing and hearing. And
yeah. What's really fucked up is like these marketing companies and these companies that do this, they pay all this much money and they make so much money by the consumers because the advertising works. But who foots the bill for the wreckage? Taxpayers have to foot the bill for that. For all the people that wind up becoming like homeless. And there's been a couple times in my life where I was like this close to like being homeless. But if that next paycheck didn't come through, I was...
Oh, just a couple months ago.
Yeah.
I'm always on the edge.
Yeah, and I would have found ways to drink. But like the hospitals where alcoholics show up, cirrhosis of the liver, kidney failure, organ failure, they show up at the hospitals. Government funded like rehab centers and detox programs and stuff. That should be in the advertising for Bud Light. That should be in the advertising for like all these alcohol companies. It's like, yeah, the first half of the commercial, we're going to show people having fun. But by law or whatever, maybe because they're ethical, next half of the commercial, they're going to show the wreckage.
Yeah, well, since we're on that, I just got to throw in one more thing here is that a few weeks ago when we were at our old place and we had a fireplace and I was crumpling up paper to start a fire, I saw in one of the local papers like a thing on the back of home for homelessness, right? Donate to this, right? And the picture of the homeless person in question was like this mother and child who looked clean and somewhat happy, although distressed, but they, looked pretty clean. I thought it was a misrepresentation of what 99, whatever, the most homeless people are not like that.
Right.
Most homeless people are... Yeah, there's females, but mostly the ones I've seen in my whole life are males who are haggard, scruffy, dirty, all that. Obviously on alcohol and drugs of some kind, mentally unstable. That is not what I saw in the paper there. Some agency trying to get donations for homeless, allegedly.
Yep.
I don't know, I just want to say that is a bit of a misrepresentation. I was a little bit mad. I was glad to put it in the fire. I was like, you're lying to me.
Yeah, and I mean...
I've actually never in my life seen a fairly decent-looking woman with a child on the corner begging.
Oh, no.
It's always... And bums with dreadlocks with the dogs. That's the kind of bums I see.
Yeah.
Don't lie to me. The next thing I wanted to talk with you about is how addictions come in many forms. Primarily, we've been addicted to alcohol, but it comes in many forms. I want to talk about that and what other addictions we have currently going on for you and me, and what are we going to do about them. So let's explore just a handful of other addictions out there, what other addictions we have, and what we're going to do about them. For example, I'll kick it off. Like tobacco, smoking. We've been smoking probably longer than we've been drinking. And I'm just like, I want to go straight edge, really. I'd love to be just clean of all kinds of vices. So that's like a big one for me. I'm stopping my addictions one at a time, though. First, alcohol is like the big one, and then tobacco's next. I haven't set a target date or anything, but hopefully soon. I don't know, but what about you with tobacco and some of the other addictions that people might be struggling with?
I'm not concerned about my own tobacco use.
No, that's not on your radar. Like, okay, next month I'm going to tackle this.
No, especially with not drinking, I don't smoke as much. Because if I'm drinking at night, I'm relatively smoking quite a bit. If I'm not drinking, I just don't. it could be a whole day and I would have 5 cigarettes, which I don't think is that crazy. I was just telling somebody earlier today, they were asking me that, like, yeah, when are you going to give up tobacco? And I was like, I'm not even thinking about that right now
Mm.
because I don't even smoke that much. It's not really affecting my life.
No, I hear you, and I'm inclined to agree with you. Although it's probably true that you can say that now in your 40s, but it might be a different story in your 50s and 60s. Having just said that, I do recall recently hearing on the another podcast. I think it was Joe Rogan. He had a guest on that was talking about some old guy who was like actually in his 80s running marathons. He was a chain smoker. There are outlying examples, but by and large, it's not something that people should probably be continuing.
And I'm not condoning that. I'm not promoting that. I'm not saying that people should do that. I do think with, and I wanted to touch on this as far as addiction, kind of bringing in mental health, mental illness kind of component, because they say that alcoholism is a mental illness. I think acting like everything is normal in this society is a mental illness. I forget who it was. I'm not going to try to pin it to anybody. I'm sure one of you guys out there can probably verify this, but it was somebody very well known who said it is something like, it is not a sign of health to be considered sane in this society, because of like, this is like a sick, twisted, crazy,
Probably Oscar Wilde or something
like that. Yeah. So it's a matter of perspective, and again, I don't want people to think like, yeah, just change your perspective and continue drinking as much as you drink, or doing drugs as much as you want, because that's not what I'm saying. But I do think that it is like this mental conditioning that we have. So yeah, I've been smoking since I was 12 years old. I'm 44, so I've been smoking for 32 years.
Yeah.
Doesn't bother me.
Yeah, that's fine. My MO in an average day is work at the desk for 30 to 60 minutes until I feel like I need to stand up and take a break. Go outside. My break is a smoke break.
Yeah.
I might get a little snack or something, drink some water, go to the bathroom. But
so you're doing it like once an hour?
Oh, yeah.
And you'll smoke a part of a cigarette?
Yeah. Rolling tobacco, American Spirit.
Yeah, I mean, that's
tobacco.
when I'm at home and I'm like working in production at home for my own business. Yeah, I'll go 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, so I probably smoke more than you. And it's not ideal for me. I've just been too weak to stop over the years. But it's really stupid because every day I want to.
Mm-hmm.
Every day I think about it, and then I just don't do it. So that probably does something negative to me, especially my sort of attitude where I have a tendency to like kick myself when I'm down.
Yeah. And I think especially with something like that, if we can just be a little bit more gracious with ourselves and compassionate and forgiving with ourselves, that I think is going to be one of the first steps to making it easier.
Right.
And letting it go.
So I think our primary addictions are alcohol, tobacco. Another one for me and many people is coffee. I've been drinking coffee every day for, I don't even know how many years, many years. And
Since you started working at TGI Fridays?
Exactly. I never worked there.
What? You worked at what are them, like pancake places?
IHOP.
IHOP. I never worked for TGI Fridays. IHOP.
Yeah.
That's way better.
Oh my God. Oh, that was my first job when I was 14. So coffee's an addiction for me too. I've been doing it every day for many years. It's sort of I'm reliant on it, I think. Mm-hmm. I would like to go without it. I want to be free. I want to be disciplined to not be reliant on anything that's not essential. So alcohol, tobacco, coffee. Coffee's a big one for many people, obviously. Another big one that I was thinking about the other day is shopping. A lot of people are addicted to shopping. And recently, since we've had a little money, I've gotten the gear to invest in the studio. There's a bit of serotonin release or euphoria when you
absolutely
or you're able to search for a purchase. You make the purchase. You know the purchase is on the way because you can track it. And then when it gets here, And then when you open it, it's all of these serotonin releases. I was like, ooh, this is exhilarating. I get some from Amazon and whatever. And
Again, with like the whole multi-trillion-dollar campaign thing, I mean, Amazon and other companies making it just so one-click shopping. They make it so easy.
so easy. And here's the other thing for me is that
So
I've
attractive.
noticed since the last few days, coincidentally, we had the money and I was investing for the studio and shopping. And then Cedar died. And so was wondering if it wasn't true that part of the wanting to cure or overcome the grieving is to make a purchase,
Fucking A.
right?
Absolutely.
So I wonder how many people out there might be trying to cover up emotions through purchasing things, shopping. Addiction.
Absolutely. Yeah, because if they can't go to alcohol, they'll do that. They'll binge shop.
Yeah.
I mean, the list just goes on and on and on and on and on. So I think that this will be like the probably subject matter for at least one, probably many other episodes, is various forms of addiction and its relation to mental illness, and how the interconnectivity of place and environment and how it all ties together and influences, because it's not all just happening in a vacuum. It's not all just isolated. It would be, again, to quote another Stephen Herod Buhner book that I would recommend, Plant Intelligence in the Imaginal Realm, Into the Dreaming of Earth. He calls it, I actually don't know how to pronounce it correctly right now, Gestalt, where something is more than the sum of its parts. So I think that the approach of like addressing mental illness and addiction as an isolated event is actually harmful to the people experiencing it, and it's harmful to the people who are working with it, because it has everything to do with the environment that a person grew up in. It has everything to do with the world that we live in, and those things need to be taken into consideration. But yeah, that book, Stephen Herod Buhner, Plant Intelligence in the Imaginal Realm, talking about the interconnectivity of all of human life in the natural world.
Mm-hmm.
What are you reading? What's a book you'd like to...
Well, the book I want to recommend to people in this episode is called Essentialism. The subtitle being The Disciplined Pursuit of Less But Better.
Yeah.
By Greg McKeown.
Yeah.
You haven't read it?
No.
No.
I've already been kind of practicing it for a long time.
Yeah, some people like us, we kind of already practice it, but fascinating book, really well written, pleasure to read. And Tracy and I actually listened to the audiobook version on a drive a couple years ago. Essentialism is not about getting more things done. It's about getting the right things done.
Yeah.
That's one of his phrases from the book.
Yeah.
And it's similar to minimalism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like your bookshelf right there, that's minimalism. There's nothing. We got to get some fucking books on that thing.
I know. Like I said, today's day one of the studio. It's not quite perfect, but it's good enough for today. But definitely kind of a minimalist setup here. That's what I'm going for. But some people would say, what's the difference between the two? Some of the differences could be argued or like inconsequential. But to me, the way I describe it to people is minimalism is like blue and cooler in the spectrum. Essentialism is warmer in the spectrum. It's more orange in the spectrum, because to me, from reading the book and thinking about it, essentialism has more heart and soul in its approach. Minimalism is about reduction and clean, empty aesthetic.
Right. I would say I'm probably more of a minimalist. I don't like orange.
Yeah, well, orange literally has nothing to do with essentialism. That's just my visual on it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I appreciate minimalism and like having nothing around, sort of a Zen garden. Nothing superfluous or unneeded in a space or situation.
Right.
It's synonymous with essentialism. It's just a different approach on
Totally.
the same conversation or topic or way of living.
Mm-hmm.
Essentialism is reducing clutter and distractions as he says in the book, to get the right things done. What is meaningful?
Totally.
So meaning is a good word to
Yeah.
put in here in this conversation. What is meaningful in your life? Whether it's the physical things around you or your projects or activities, what brings you joy, and what is meaningful not only to yourself but to other people,
Mhm.
your friends, your family, your neighbors, the community.
Right. Quality over quantity.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I've been accused of being lazy, by a few people.
That reminds me of something. I'll let you continue, but I had a question I thought of I wanted to ask you today. That's
But
related
I'm
to this.
actually not lazy. I just don't like superfluous work.
Mm.
I don't like doing things. I don't like being burdened by. I know some people who have like projects up their fucking ass. I'm like, when are you gonna get all that shit done? When are you gonna do something like I'm gonna get done what is essential, and not just the bare minimum. That's not what I mean. I'm the most valuable things. I have a lot of energy to put into something. I'm gonna choose something that's very valuable. That's gonna like have a lot of good in my life. It's gonna do a lot of good maybe for some other people.
Here's a great example. I like to keep my email inbox as close to zero as possible. You don't give a shit about that because you'd rather be working on the land, making it,
Right.
doing those kinds of productive things.
Yeah.
So that's essential for you.
Yeah.
And getting my email inbox to zero is not quite essential,
Yeah.
but I like doing it.
But you spend a lot. It's more important to you to like check when these emails come in. You want to keep it clean because you have a lot more going on with
The digital
the
realm.
digital realm. I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
It's like cool. Fucking Natural Grocers End Power Awards.
It is true. It is kind of, yeah. Right. Well, I set up all kinds of filters and stuff. I keep
Yeah.
it clean, very minimal digital. But I wanted to ask you something that I was thinking about because in a couple episodes when I was editing, I saw that you said something about now that you're sober, you're able to be more productive. It might have been in one of your shorts, actually, that is on our social media that we post every day on. You said you're able to be more productive now or something like that, which seems it could be in conflict with what I've heard you say before, which is you're kind of a self-proclaimed anti-productivity guy. Like,
No. I
no,
never said that.
because I like to be productive, and I say that very loudly. But I've heard you say before something to the effect of productivity is not important to you or something. This was back when you were drinking a lot. I don't know if you remember saying that.
I do.
Can you square that circle?
Yeah, I can. I mean,
Do you want to be productive or not?
well, my ideal is that I basically have almost nothing to do and I can just be. Humans have forgotten how to just be humans. We're overstimulated, over medicated, over caffeinated, and we've forgotten completely of what it means to just be a natural human being. And I love to sit under trees and read books and just meditate and stare at the creek, and I'm not on drugs. However, I do believe that there's some things that I really want to and need to get done here in this world that are going to have a big impact on people's lives, my business. And I know that that's going to help quite a few people. And so I found myself being able to be more productive in this way instead of just being like hungover and kind of like lazy. Now I can get up and I have way more energy to go into production and get myself set up. So I've got a big backstock. I can resupply stores, with this product and get out there on the land and help the other people who kind of like live there, to do some good things. Whereas before, if I'm like really hungover, there's no fucking way I'm going to go out there and move 100-pound cottonwood rounds, like sweat my ass off and like stink to high heaven and just get like dizzy and want to go drink
It
again.
makes sense, but I'm still a little confused. But I think that you do like to be productive more when you're sober. I think you were just possibly a little bit clouded when you were drinking a lot.
Yeah, or just saying some shit when I was drinking. That definitely happened.
Yeah, you did say some shit when you were drinking. That
Yeah.
maybe you didn't really mean.
I rewatched a couple of those early ones and I was like, yeah, that's how I sound when I'm drinking. Which is fine, but it's just like, it was
Different.
almost annoying to me.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know.
So I'm all about being a productive, functioning human being, but I know some projects where like, yeah, we could do this, or we could do this, or we could do this. And then they spend like all that time saying we could do this, or we could do this, or what about this? They spend all that time thinking about that and like talking about it when they could just be doing one of those things. Essentialism. Here's your checklist. Do one of them completely and do it really well. Move on.
Prioritize and execute.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I love organization, structure, plans.
As much as it doesn't look like it in my life, I do like a lot of aspects of like that, you know.
I just seems like to you haven't for so long in the last years that you've been drinking.
For sure. Yeah, I get the bare minimum done as well as I can. And then as early as I can, kick my shoes off and start drinking.
Yeah.
And that's not the case anymore. So I've just been able to like have a lot more energy and capacity to even entertain, being more productive.
Well, I love the sound of that. And it's only been a month.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah, 21, 22 days.
Yeah. So many more great things on the horizon, I really believe.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you're walking the path with me.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad that you are walking the path with us. Thanks for watching this episode. Thanks for being a part of the Sober Squad. You can connect with us on any of our social media channels. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all of them. Pick your favorite platform. Give us a follow there. We're posting every day.
We're not on Snapchat.
Nah, we're not on all of them. We're not on Snapchat. We're on the essential ones. Essential for today because who knows what'll be essential in 3 years.
Yeah.
But I would like to be doing this show for 3 years, 5 years, for a long time. We do have some great guests that we are lining up. We are getting them on the schedule and the calendars. We also got a weekly newsletter for the Sober Squad members that we're sending out once a week, along with new episodes that come out every Sunday morning. TheSoberBros.com. You know what to do. Sign up for the newsletter. Give us a follow. Thanks for tuning in.
Cool.